announced.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. Thank you for your company once again this morning. My name is Joyce Waiguru. Karibuni sana to the show. And in this second hour of the show, we're going to be touching on events of the week in brief. And later on, we'll be bringing you our DIY segment. If you missed the first hour, be sure to join me bright and early tomorrow from 8 a.m. Before we jump into all of that and I introduce my guest, though, let's take a look at our quote for the day. Today's is by Ellen DeGeneres, and she said, honesty, equality, kindness, compassion, treating people the way you want to be treated and helping those in need, to me, those are traditional values. I'll read that again. Honesty, equality, kindness, compassion, treating people the way you want to be treated and helping those in need, to me, those are traditional values. And that was said by Ellen DeGeneres. And I like that a lot of those are actually, relating to other people, being honest with other people, treating them with equality, treating them with kindness, compassion, and the way you want to be treated. And that's someone who, has a lot of money to her name. So if she is thinking that it's important, certainly it should be important for the rest of us as well. And 22999 is the SMS line. Please send us your comments as we dive into events of the week in brief right now. With us here we have Honorable John Mutunga, who's the MP for Tigania West. Karibu tena to the show, Honorable.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here this morning. We appreciate your time. Okay. And you know what, actually, just considering we're going to be talking about politics and events of the week in brief, this morning in our devotion segment, we were talking about keeping our promises. And part of our reflection was how we feel like the political circle hasn't been very good at keeping promises. Today, of course, is a big day for Kenyans too, with the reading of the budget later on. But maybe just your own reflections too, as one who is a steward really over many people as constituents, and for those who have political ambitions, what would be your word to them as far as really being able to keep to the word that they've promised?
I think politics is carelessly defined as being not permanent. There's no permanent friendship. There's no permanent enmity. And I call that deliberately careless, because there should be some level of commitment to what you set yourself up to.
Yeah.
In most cases, you realize that when there's a new government intended to be formed, when people are gearing up to go and look for votes, there's a lot of party hopping. There's a lot of formation of coalitions and so on and so forth. But these coalitions, I believe strongly, should be formed to run a government through, not to change midway. I think when you give promises, you should be able to stand by the promises.
Absolutely.
That is why you may find politics as if it's not really reliable.
Yeah.
And that is not quite right.
Yeah.
It is possible, it's necessary for people to know that when you make a promise, before others, you should be able to keep the promise.
All right. Well, let's jump then into these events of the week in brief. Of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta there extended the curfew lockdown season by another 30 days, at least though the curfew period was reduced now to 9 to 4 a.m. Your thoughts on that? Of course, a lot of people are waiting for, there was a lot of memes on social media, people ready to go out and party that night. How would you assess that move?
There was a lot of preparation. That day was waited for like Christmas Day or New Year. I think people are really gearing up to a complete opening.
Yeah.
But I think the president was very careful. He was very well advised to extend the period, and I concur with the fact that we need to be a little bit more careful. We cannot afford to be careless with COVID.
Let's not be Tanzania, basically.
Oh my God, I don't even know.
Magufuli is there saying we've been conned.
I think the events happening in Burundi should be able to send a strong message to the world.
Yeah.
This is not a joke, and I'm not really. We are all, we regret any death, but the death of Dennis is something that people should be able to learn a strong lesson from, a very big lesson. So extension was necessary, especially when the figures changed, the data changed. We were not in hundreds, but we suddenly turned. When we were preparing to probably the entire committee was briefing the president that we should now open the economy. then the figures changed. We started talking of 123, 125, 140, and then it would be very logical for a country to open an economy at that time. Although, of course, initially we were relying on the identified cases and following up those people who are linked to, who have associated with that kind of a person in 14 days. And that did not give us big figures, but the reality down when we went to mass testing, that is close to what probably could expect to be happening. And that tells us that Kenya is not very safe, so we need to be a little bit more careful. And you see, the numbers have already started spilling out, spilling over what capacity we have in some areas. That is an issue that we need to consider very carefully. There's need for better planning, there's need for more intensive, concentration on this particular issue, and building capacities, especially at the county level, where we may have a lot more, relief when the national capacity is completely done with.
Sure, absolutely.
So it was
but also
necessary,
just thinking about things like, as the economy opens up, and I think more and more people might start asking for people to get tested, but the cost is still ridiculously high.
Actually the costs are punitive. The cost of everything has been very high. It's going down slowly. You start with the masks. They rocketed to around 175 shillings. The surgical masks. The ultraviolet temperature gun initially was selling at around 13,500. It has gone down up to around 8,000 now. I think I've seen somewhere where they're even selling at 6,000. So things are going down. But we strongly pushed on local capacity to produce some of these things. And if we produce them locally, we'll now be only looking for raw materials, and then we would discharge them into the market, and they would break down the prices.
What's stopping us, though? Isn't it Senegal that did it for, I think, $1?
It is happening, especially in the textile industry. It's happening. I think we're producing some of the masks locally.
But what about a vaccine? Or not a vaccine, but the testing
is a big
kit.
story.
The testing kit.
The top scientists in the world are really working on this. Different countries are really working 24 hours to make sure that they come up with a vaccine quickly. There has been testing, even human testing. Some of them have already volunteered. Some people have volunteered to test. And we hope that something will come up. But I can assure you it's not going to be in months. It will have to be a year plus. So COVID might be here to stay for a while. It might have to compel us to adopt a certain lifestyle. And now, like today, you can't greet somebody, you can't shake somebody's hand. So
very un-African, right?
Yes, and you see people, people by their mouth. So these days you may not be able to know who it is. We look at just at the eyes. So I think it's a lifestyle that we need to adopt. And, we need to brace for it.
Speaking about not shaking hands, let's talk about Kirinyaga MCAs and how they are booting out their governor, Hon Waiguru. What's happening there?
I think there has been problems in Kirinyaga for a while, and there has been the Kirinyaga people have been trying to look for a solution. And
what is the problem in your perception?
They have been talking of issues of misappropriation of resources, misuse of office, corruption mainly. And they also expect a lot more than probably they are getting. And that is why the MCAs decided to take up the available option. And this option meant, impeaching the governor. I want to look at the zeal the MCAs treated this thing. They took it.
I mean, one of them was being shaved. They slept there.
They spent the night there, so they're not influenced overnight. That was very interesting. But I think it's a show of solidarity. When people resolve to do something, they should be able to, to do it. Not just to probably, be influenced.
But she, of course, is terming this as a waste of time and that they should be spending their efforts focusing on COVID.
That already we can see some signs that there is likely to be some kind of saving somewhere along the way. Because the first thing we saw yesterday early in the morning, was the Minister for Gender, for the first time, giving a statement in support of Waiguru. And then we have also seen that if Waiguru probably reaches probably the presidency, she might be assisted because Senate will do what the president says. As we know it now.
Do you see this impeachment actually going through?
There are two ways of looking at it. If it is left to the rules of natural and the national law and constitution, it will succeed. But if there is influence here and there, and then people are assistant, if Waiguru is assisted, which should be very wrong in my opinion. I think we should leave the law and the constitution to prevail.
All right. Well, let's get back then to the Jubilee Party. And really, today we're just wondering is, talking about keeping our promises and whatnot, it seems that the vows made for that, the marriage of Jubilee, those vows have been broken. It seems that the gloves are off. Of course, we saw there... Moses Kuria is among Ruto allied MPs facing the axe from key assembly committees. The Jubilee Party gave the members 7 days to explain why they should not be dismissed from the National Assembly committees. And Moses Kuria, who serves as a member of parliament for Gatundu South, actually just went ahead and accepted his removal as the vice chairperson of the Transport, Infrastructure, Public Works and Housing Committee, saying he has no regrets over his time of service. He continued to claim that Mount Kenya region is still neglected in infrastructure development. What was your initial reaction when you saw this? Did you see it coming?
I saw it coming.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Initially, I want to say that the party members did not quite understand that there was a rift between the president and his deputy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a family where you don't know whether the father and mother disagree, because most of the time they are showing you a very happy face.
And let's talk about that, because Madaraka Day, the Madaraka Day celebrations, the virtual ones, they seemed very happy.
Yeah, but I'm wondering whether it was not some preparation for a major thing happening just soon after.
It didn't remind you of the old days,
I don't know,
I don't
know how genuine it was. Because if it was genuine, then we would have seen follow-up actions in support of what they showed that day.
Okay.
But what followed up was very serious. We had a meeting in State House, the parliamentary group meeting, which lasted a very short time. And I don't think there was much agreement on what we were discussing. So soon after, we saw changes, which therefore led to other changes. Of course, the whip, the parliamentary whip, party whip, if it's a minority or majority, has a responsibility now to deal with the others. Once you are given the position of a whip, then you have the responsibility to see whether you can, manage the others who probably could be identified as being not fully in support of a party agenda.
So is there a fear about that now in the party?
I think the fear is, the people have already gotten accustomed. I think people are waiting for anything.
Wow.
Where the ones I've been able to talk to are prepared. And of course, some of them have already given out their letters of resignation and acceptance of their position, as it were, and allowed the party leader to do what he wants with the party, so that probably he can govern better.
Will you sit on a committee?
Yes, I sit on the Budget and Appropriation Committee, and the chairman of Budget and Appropriation Committee clearly declared to us, and we took a last photo. In the last meeting, we took a photograph.
Oh, gosh.
And we agreed that, okay, we'll be meeting, whether he continues to be a member of the committee will be useful. But I want to say something. That's one man who has really managed the budget issues of this country very well, impartially. He has two phases. There is the phase out there and the phase in the business. When he's in the business of the house and the business of the committee, he makes sure he delivers. And now that he's an approachable, he's been able to be reached properly. He negotiates with Treasury very well. And I think we have seen this budget committee do better than the last session budget.
We're going to be talking about the budget when we get back from a break that we're going to be taking very shortly. But just before I get there, just so that I can get this done, Laikipia Women Representative Kate Waruguru has left Tanga. The legislator was one of Ruto's allies, a position which saw her join the list of 16 allies of Ruto facing the axe from their positions in the National Assembly committees. The fiery legislator had been unapologetic about her support for DP, but on Tuesday she met Raila at his Capitol Hill offices, where she expressed her support to the cooperation between the ODM leader and Uhuru, and she pledged to work with the two leaders on issues of national interest. That's a blow to Deputy President Ruto.
She's not alone. We saw a few others later on, soon after. Waiguru is one of those listed as a vice chair of our committee. And of course, she was supposed to be the whip. And I don't know whether it's in trying to save her position as a vice chair, or maybe, always when a member of parliament, when a politician changes sides, they refer to the people. Just say that the people, my people, have advised me that this is the best way forward.
Oh, no.
And I think Calling it a blow, yes, of course, any loss is not good. Secondly, we also, saw the member of parliament for Laikipia, another member of parliament, Sarah Korere, also left yesterday. And if you look back at what they have been saying out there, you wonder whether it was coming right from their hearts.
Right.
Or because I think they're a little bit more vocal than most of us. Most of us do not say very many things, but they say so many things that I think probably some of those utterances may be driving them to change positions because they realize it's serious now, things are happening, and they might be followed even further than that.
Right.
So I don't know really what could be making them change their mind. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll keep our eyes peeled for this musical chairs in this Jubilee marriage, but we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, I want us to dive into the budget and really focus on that. Again, Honorable Mutunga here actually sits on the budgetary committee, and I really want to touch on what are some of the expectations that we can expect. What are some of his thoughts, moving forward, considering the levels of debt in this country? COVID has hit us really badly, economy, really down in the trenches. What can we expect moving forward? That's coming up next. 22999 is the SMS line. All right, guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. I'm here with Honorable John Mutunga, who's the MP for Tigania West. And we've been going through events of the week in brief. Earlier, we were talking about everything from Waiguru's possible impeachment to Moses Kuria, the Jubilee Party, and this broken marriage. And someone here is saying, hey Joyce, I'm from Kirinyaga and I don't think it's the right time for impeachment and such kind of politics. Our leaders should really be focusing on how to curb the spread of COVID and ensure the people they serve are not sleeping with empty stomachs. Thank you for that. You don't need me your name though or where you're watching from. But Honorable, someone here is asking, this is Vinny Murio watching from Meru, is asking, on which side are you on, Kieleweke or Tanga?
I would like to say that the Jubilee Party, or rather leadership of the Jubilee Party, has allowed Jubilee to be divided and to be infiltrated, broken into pieces, without declaring that that's the direction we need to go. Because there's nothing like Keleweke, there's nothing like Tanga, there's nothing like Amama, there are so many others like Embrace and so on. I think this is the understanding that people have. If you have associated with, if you appear to be associating with the deputy president, then you are in Tanga. If you appear to be associating with the president, then you are in Kieleweke. And of course, Kieleweke means it was not understood. It's not been understood. It's vague, so it's not clear as at now. So when it comes to how the things happen in Jubilee, we knew we voted for presidency, a president and a deputy. Just like you vote for a governor and a deputy governor. That's the constitution. We did not vote for one person. So whichever office is accessible to you when you are doing business, now like as members of parliament, is the one you closely relate with so that you can continue moving. It's not very easy to see the president for maybe the 350 of us in the National Assembly to be able to see the president every day for the president to do everything that you would probably like to do. Then the deputy president is a principal assistant of the president. So when you can't access the president, and there is another person who is assisting the president, of course, if you go to a ministry, you want to see the CS, and you can't see the CS, you see the PA to the CS, and believe that the PA will sort you out. And if you can't, you take the matter to the CS so that your issue is addressed. That is basically how Kenyan members of parliament, or rather Kenyan politicians, found themselves in sections, or what we are calling Keleweke and Tanga. There are very many things that a member of parliament has to do. You have to follow water, electricity, roads, water, everything. And in most cases, you are new. Like, I'm a new member of parliament. I didn't know even how to do this business, so I needed to be guided. So when you can't get sufficient guidance from your colleagues, they are also busy following their issues. So in the process, when you realize that probably I'm not able to know where to go to sort out road matters, or rather probably there's a problem with electricity, then you need to go to an office to be assisted. And when you go to the deputy president's office, he makes a call to the right person and says you go there and you'll be sorted out. So there is nothing like Kirinyaga and Tagatanga. We are all members of Jubilee.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to
Only
leave
that we have
that
allowed
there.
Jubilee to be branded, and we seem to be happy with that, which is very wrong.
I'm going to leave that there, mostly just because I really want us to touch on the budget. You sit on the Parliament's Budgetary Committee.
Yes.
And today, of course, is a big day. It's the reading of the budget. And let's maybe just take it back, before COVID hit, of course, there were still plans for the budget. What would you think would have been said today? Or what were some of the expectations in the lead up to the budget? Keeping in mind, Kenyans are really tired of hearing about loans and our debt repayment.
Yeah, the budget process is a whole 1 year process. Starts around September, October, November, with now consolidation of the issues at what we call MDAs, the ministries, the departments, and agencies.
Yeah.
They normally consolidate their issues, and then Treasury gives them ceilings, and then they plan along the ceilings. These ceilings come out as a budget policy statement in early January, early in the year. The budget policy statement goes to Parliament and is adopted by Parliament. That is the one that is used now as the guideline for the budgeting process of the year. So COVID came after the BPS has already been discussed and everything has been settled. So it was a major issue. It came in March. That's when the first case was declared, and then we were already way into budget process. So what happened is that there was therefore need for some provision to be made for the COVID. There were some arrangements made quickly by the president. He announced certain changes. He announced some creation of the committee, initiating the process of fundraising and so on and so forth. But then when the first version of the budget provisions came, the estimates came from the Treasury, because that's what happens. The MDAs normally give the Treasury their estimates, and then the Treasury develops a document which basically comes to the House. Now, then they come to defend to various committees, those agencies.
Okay.
They come to defend to their departmental committees. Now, when that came, the first version did not have any serious commitment on COVID. We didn't have any serious provision. I think there was around 3.6 billion given to the Ministry of Health, and everything looked very normal. So as a budget committee, we looked at it and wondered, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're in the midst of a crisis, and there's not only one crisis, we have several crises. There was a flooding all over the country. There was locusts we have had to deal with for over half a year now, and then there is COVID.
Yeah.
Why don't we look at creating some fund that would basically assist in this particular process?
Okay.
And that's when now Treasury, and I believe with the advice of the President, came up with the stimulus package.
Right.
This package has been very well done. They got money from all over the MDAs, and therefore have created some fund which will be used to respond to COVID.
Although,
and
of
to
course,
help people in the recovery process from the COVID.
Although, of course, beyond the stimulus package for this current season, the budget, as you've said, it's been worked on for a year.
Yes.
And it was anticipating our economy growing at what it was before,
Exactly.
which is certainly not the case now.
There has been serious revisions. First of all, the debt ratio. Remember last year, there was this request that we change from associating our debt status in terms of percentage of the GDP to the real figures in terms of trillions now. There was a request from Treasury to move from the percentage to the real data. And then what happened is that we accepted this particular fact, having been properly advised by Treasury that they're going to do three things. Number one, they'll release the money, they'll stop borrowing from the local, from the local market, and they'll borrow internationally, which are long-term debts that will basically be having very low interest rates, like 1% or even less. Then they also agreed that if Treasury does not borrow, or the government doesn't borrow from the local market, then it means there will be created money which will be borrowed by SMEs. So there will be possibility for SMEs to borrow, and the economy will vibrate.
Okay.
And then there was the other issue of now retiring the expensive debts from the commercial loans we take the concessional loans, which are long term and with a long period of you are given a grace period for several years. That is what was supposed to happen, but most of that has not happened. Whereas there's a lot of confusion, and then the growth rate has been revised from 5.4 to something, I think 2 point something now, and then there is a lot of other things that have come up.
Yeah.
Then debt has increased. We have also borrowed. Like last year, we could not have completed any development project. We could not have done any development project if we did not borrow. Our budget provided for a 635 billion deficit that was supposed to be borrowed from somewhere. And this year, the debt is even bigger. It's more than 800 billion. So, well, there is the issue of the commitment to pay the debts. Kenya has continuously paying their debts.
Okay.
And probably that is why we've not been able to benefit from any waivers, global waivers that we've seen from other countries.
Right. Okay. I want us to touch on this as well. Of course, as a member of the Parliament's Budget Committee, please do shed light for us on these new tax measures as far as a digital tax in the Finance Bill 2020. Isn't that hurting Kenyans who now have had to take a lot of their businesses online, and many things are now moving online?
The government is desperate to look for revenue. And as you are very well aware, there is no revenue in the country right now. I mean, the revenue levels are very low. We used to project around 1.7, more than 1.76 or so trillion in terms of revenue, and we are looking at 1.4 if we are lucky. Because most of the businesses closed, most of the people are out of job, so most of the revenue, the government makes money from revenue, from probably trade, international trade. International trade is considerably curtailed due to the fact that we are not traveling from one country to another. Although, of course, the cargo carriers are crossing the borders, but we are not selling as much out as we used to do. So trade is not one of the great options that will give us. Tourism is not one of them. It's already closed. So we are only relying on taxes. So the government has to be innovative in tax measures. So most of the business has moved into the E. So
yeah, well, so it will be easier to give the tax, though, if we were seeing the actual fruits from it. But that aside,
at least we are running a government. That's a huge fruit. You have not. The government has not collapsed.
Oh my!
So
well, also the government did estimate that 1.7 million jobs have been lost since January.
Yes.
Already, Kenya's National Bureau of Statistics revealed that pre-COVID, in February, 40% of Kenyan youth were unemployed.
Yes.
It feels like Parliament isn't as concerned as it should be about this ticking time bomb.
Let me be very honest with you. It is not necessarily the Parliament. The Parliament is very concerned, and we have raised issues, especially on job creation and on investment in the productive sector so that we can vibrate this economy. That has not happened because we are doing huge infrastructural development. We are doing other things that's taking so much money. We are a country which has also moved into making almost everything free. Somebody said the education is free because it's free of knowledge. I think it so many things are, like, of course, people go to school free. There are so many other things that are free. Government is paying. Instead of creating opportunities for people to make money and pay a little. That's the way other governments grew. That's the way the other economies grew. So we need to invest a lot more in the productive sector and stop this offer. There's a lot of competition on doing things that do not necessarily give you money back in the evening.
So can Kenyans expect any sort of good news in this budget reading today? Here we are talking about debts. So far, taxes is the only way. Digital tax, like literally everything we have, we're being taxed out of our noses. Is there anything good Kenyans can expect from the budget today?
Let me say that the country is in a bit of depression in terms of the economy. We are managing it's not a crisis as yet, but we are still managing it. There are quite a number of things that have been put into the budget to try and save some businesses, especially in the post-COVID stimulus package. So through such efforts, I think Kenyans can expect that after the economy is opened, there will be resuscitation of the businesses, and then I think we can go back to where we used to be. Because without that, it would have taken much longer for us to be able to move faster. I would like to say that there could be no goodies that you would probably expect from this particular budget today. There wouldn't be so much, but containing the situation as it were, taking care of the obligations of the government and taking care of our obligations with the international community and so on, that is being taken care of. But there is flexibility to introduce new huge things that probably Kenyans would say, oh wow, the budget has supported everybody. I think it's not in this budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Turning to Tigania West as I wrap up here, someone here is asking, they're saying, glad you're hosting Dr. Mutunga, our MP. Kindly ask him what plans he has for our bad roads in place in Kitheo, in Tigania West. And he also says that macadamia farmers are really, or she says macadamia farmers are really struggling to transport their nuts, especially during the rainy season. Another is asking about how Kazi Mtaani is operating, because some areas youth were called to sign up, but nothing has happened until now.
The first one needs to tell us when she was last in Kitheo, because I think the first member of parliament who has properly opened roads the way they should be opened, especially in Kitheo.
Okay.
So she should visit Kitheo or talk to people in Kitheo, and they'll tell her. Because right now I'm doing from Liutu through Kaleati, and I'm opening up that one to Kalimba.
Okay.
I've opened up from Kamarima, Mochone to an area called Amokoi. That road, nobody else ever touched it. So we are doing a great job.
Okay.
On the other hand, when it comes to macadamia is a product that is really the main economy of that particular area. And we leave the price determination to supply and demand.
Okay.
There has been a lot of hula baloo that now the economy is closed, the Chinese are not coming, there will be no prices. I would like to tell our people that the economy will open finally, the Chinese still will come.
Okay.
But the processing capacity of macadamia in this country is twice the supply. The capacity is 97,000 metric tons. The supply is barely 45,000 metric tons.
Okay.
So they should not be worried. What there is that probably people now, those who are processing might, stop buying a bit to try and depress the prices, and that is temporal. They cannot do that for long because they have obligations to keep on manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Mutunga, thank you very much for being here today. Good to talk to you, and we'll be waiting to see that budget, although now, as we are hearing, there might not be too much exciting news, but thank you once again for your company.
Yeah,
we do appreciate it. With that said, guys, we're going to take a break now as we switch gears for our final segment. We're going to be having our DIY segment coming up next. Stay tuned. This is Full Circle with Joyce.